Well, hello, and welcome to season 2 of Your Takes Are Shitty. And I'm May, still, and I'm here with Neo.
Unfortunately.
We both have blue hair because we have become like the 100 geeks of the podcast world, right? Like we're think about it, Neo.
Obnoxious and everywhere.
Exactly, obnoxious and everywhere.
And with way too many gex in our pockets.
That's yes. Now
We don't quite have 100, but we're getting there.
important to note that we are on season number 2
Yes.
of this show. We didn't think we would make a whole season number 1, but now we're doing number 2.
Yes.
Holy shit.
We're at the second one.
Now, we're going to be doing this season a bit differently than we did the first season, which is to say we're going the first season was about challenging Neo in a very specific dimension. It was about challenging his preconceptions of like what cinema could be and the things that even the difficult things that cinema can be. And now he knows. And you'll never not know. Except we didn't watch a Serbian film. But we'll get there. Maybe we'll get to season finale. But this season, I was like, okay, let's challenge Neo in a new way. Let's see what Neo thinks about genuinely, like, trashy, unacceptable things.
Yep.
So, I forced the Catboy to sit down and watch 2 films by Eli Roth, a filmmaker I don't like very much. And so that was the whole thing. I was like, well, what do I not like? Like, genuinely, how do I put this in Neo's eyes and say, I don't like this, Neo. What do you think? And I was like, well, Eli Roth is my go-to because I do not like his movies.
He's just such a piece of shit.
Well, right out the gate.
Right out the gate.
Well,
Fuck you, Eli Roth.
fuck
If
you,
you're
Eli.
listening, go fuck yourself.
Oh my god. Okay, so Neo has very strong feelings about Eli Roth, which I think is great. Like, honestly, I want Neo to have strong feelings about anything. And that's the whole point of the podcast is like, how do we drum up like big old feelings? So, so this podcast, which is sponsored by
Machine Age Productions and the RPGI Hunt, and also the YouTube short show Blood Thing.
Yeah. And also our patrons over at patreon.com/excrement, because this podcast is actually called Your Take is Excrement, not Your Take is Shitty. That's really funny though, right? I thought it was really funny.
More on them later on.
Yes, we're going to do that later. But this podcast is going to be about the Green Inferno. And here's the deal with that. Here's the deal. So the first episode of season 1, we watched Cannibal Holocaust. Genuinely one of the most challenging movies ever made. And you walked away with it with mental dexterity. You had a take. You had a reaction to it that wasn't gross.
Mm-hmm.
This was fascinating to me. This is why we started a podcast.
Right.
The Green Inferno is the yin to the yang there, in that it is terrible.
It is so fucking bad. So before we get into our takes on it, we should probably summarize the movie. So the movie is about...
Well, real quick, before we summarize the movie, let's talk about who made this. Let's get a little context here. So, okay, in case you are unfamiliar, Cannibal Holocaust. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in regards to who made this film, you know, sometimes when you're like holding a shit just too much, and you get a little like skid mark on your underwear, that's who made this film. That's skid mark.
Oh my god. Well, he is kind of a heel, I think. Eli Roth is fucking, I don't even know. So
this is deranged rat bastard.
So let's, before we talk about the movie, we should probably talk about where it came from, which is to say The Green Inferno is a very controversial film from 2014 directed by Eli Roth, out of the country, also produced out of the country, weirdly independently, so that it could then be released by Blumhouse as a finished production, which is the only way they could get away with the fucking blatant racism in the film without going through a major studio who would say no to it. Yeah, Eli wanted to make the movie so bad with the racism, so he was like, I'll just do it myself somehow in a foreign country.
I just imagine
It's
him
fine.
in like pitch meetings where the Hollywood director's like, oh, like Cannibal Holocaust? Great, we love it. Can you tone down the racism? And Eli's like, fuck you! Fuck you! And like
No.
gathers his papers and storms out.
No, if the racism is the point, and they're like, it is?
Why, Eli?
Wait, what? Eli. So, like, Eli Roth is a Quentin Tarantino protege, director who made Cabin Fever, terrible. Hostel, terrible. Hostel 2, terrible.
Green Inferno,
Fuck, terrible.
uber terrible.
Knock Knock, terrible. House with a Clock in its Walls, terrible. If it's bad, Eli Roth had something to do with
And
it.
Borderlands, the movie.
We'll get there, buddy boy. We'll get there, buddy boy. So first off, we were like, the Green Inferno. I want to show Neo a movie that will genuinely challenge his preconception of the cannibal movie that was already challenging his preconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, Eli Roth is terrible and is short-sighted and has not put thought into things. So let's see what Neo thinks about this. Because, like, the whole bit of Cannibal Holocaust with Neo was that Neo grew up in Africa, so there's a cultural anthropology aspect there that Neo understands deeply.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When we go over to something stupid, he still understands, okay? But now it's stupid. So, without further ado, explain to the good people at home fucking the Green Inferno.
Okay, so the Green Inferno is about a bunch of college students who Eli Roth hates, who want healthcare and want to protect the forest, and Eli Roth fucking hates that. It is unacceptable to this man that the people are protesting to save the rainforest and for free healthcare. So a lot of the movie is Eli Roth's like blatant contempt at those concepts.
Yes.
And is calling people who want those like whiny SJW shitheads. So first of all, this movie is just like it's right out the gate.
SJW like propaganda piece, which is fucking weird.
Right out the gate, it's like something I'd watch on like Amazing Atheist when I was like an edgy 18-year-old before I like realized reality isn't.
But the thing is, it's even shitty for that crowd. Like, I can't even imagine being one of those people. Like, imagine being one of those. Hello, yes, I am very smart, and I will suck the dick of anything that agrees with me. But having to watch this and endure it and then agree with it, I would hate to be that person.
I actually wonder, like, I legitimately wonder what shitty takes like Amazing Atheist or like Sarkin of a Cat has on this movie.
They probably haven't seen it, but
Fair
if
enough.
they had, I bet they. I don't know. That's a great question.
Like
What does Richard Spencer think?
Well, he loves it.
You think so?
Unequivocally, yeah. Well, no, because they have to keep up the veneer of like, I'm not racist, but, and so I don't know. I just think it'd be interesting to hear what like derived dribble would
This
fall out
movie
of
is
their,
the definition
like,
of I'm
putrid
not
mouths.
racist, but
Yeah.
right. So continue with this ironic moral tale that Eli Roth has woven for us,
So
my man.
they get funded by a rich South American lad, I think called Carlos. And the movie is like there's a scene where someone's like, it's like, oh, so he's just funding us all? Someone's like, yeah, he's not a drug dealer. Like stop with your fucking microaggressions. And it's like, what? Well, it's also like everything Eli Roth writes is just like painfully bad. Like, so all the dialogue is just like eye-tearing, like horrific. Like, I'd rather go through like what happens to the people in the Green Inferno than listen to another Eli Roth movie.
Well,
So-
like
Okay.
Continue.
So they all go to, I think it's like Bolivia or somewhere, not Brazil. Well, interesting. They go to the not Brazil rainforest to protest against a mining company, and the whole bit is they're like, our cameras are our defense. So the PMCs, the private military contractors on the mining company, won't shoot us if we have our cameras out.
So that's to say that the Blackwater people won't shoot you if
you're
being
filming
filmed.
them. So the whole point is,
Which, by the way, not true.
no,
They will fucking kill you.
you point a camera at them and they think it's a gun.
They will fucking kill you.
If there's one group of people that are dumber than cops, and
they have a reputation for murdering people who are filming them.
yeah.
Well,
like,
so this movie is on the it works on the predilection that hippies have power at all.
right.
And it's like, yeah, you can shame people, but literally look. Louis C.K. still has a job,
Right.
career.
Well, and it's,
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah. Okay. So I have takes on that. It's just we gotta get.
We
gotta
get through it. It's a bad movie.
It's a bad fucking movie. Okay. So they go to the rainforest. They all dress up like they're in the mining company for no
Smart.
goddamn reason.
Very smart.
For no goddamn reason. And then their plan is to chain themselves to the mining equipment in the trees, which, I mean, is fine, I guess. Like, but anyway, but they all chain themselves to the trees, and then they blow up a bomb that kills a bunch of the mine workers. and then the PMCs find a character who isn't chained to a dozer, and they're gonna be like, haha, they're not chained up, I'm gonna shoot them. Where it's like, but you can shoot anyone who's chained up too. Like, it's like, it's
What's
if
the
she's
fucking
if she's
difference?
not chained up.
Well, they did a fucking act of war.
Well, okay, but like,
They
yeah,
blew a bomb up. Like,
yeah.
I don't care if they've got cameras. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, and so, but it's like you can argue that she's the only one they wouldn't shoot because she's chained away. We don't need to shoot her. We can drag her off. Like the people who are chained to our dozers, yeah, we can shoot them and like cut the chains. What? Okay, but it makes no fucking sense. Okay, so they end up not shooting her because they're like, her dad works at the UN. Ha ha ha. Oh wait, real quick, I'm gonna backtrack. They had like a 10-minute bit on female genital mutilation.
Oh my god!
And
like,
oh my
there's
god,
this whole bit where
they're all in like a sociology class,
fucking female genital,
where they're just going on and on and on about it, and it's like, god damn. And
well, you know the scene. It's the scene that is at the beginning of every movie that starts in a college.
Yeah.
Where the lecturer is talking about what the movie is going to be about, and
Yeah.
you're like, female genital mutilation. Hey
Damn,
man,
bud.
I sure hope not.
Well-
you're like, that would be really, really stupid of him to do. Like, he would have to go through with it,
Well-
or I would think that he was a pussy.
And then one of the main characters is like, why don't we just fucking invade all these countries? Why don't we go and we shoot all these people? And it's like, well, it's obviously like Eli Roth wants to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a weird.
There's
okay.
this
Good
weird
God,
thing
there's
where
so many things.
where Eli Roth is trying to make a movie about whiny SJWs, but he can't like take his ego out of anything long enough to like actually have a movie about whiny SJWs. So he keeps on putting his own takes in their mouths. So half the movie is Eli Roth trying to make fun of SJWs, and the other half is Eli Roth trying to communicate his takes through them because he's too much of a jackass to keep himself out of the film. So
right. Well,
so he kind of sabotages his own point frequently
Okay.
because he can't shut the fuck up.
So something I hate about writers, and it's some writers do this, and people debate me on this all the time, but I don't care. Go fuck yourself. I don't like it when a writer clearly has written themselves or a version of themselves as every character. Like,
Yeah.
every character talks like them.
Well,
There's no distinctive difference. So it's kind of like that way with like Kevin Smith. You haven't seen Kevin Smith, but every character in a Kevin Smith movie talks like Kevin Smith.
right. Well, and it's like we've all been in the shower and been like, man, yesterday that person was an asshole to us, and we've all fabricated that like intricate scenario where we dunk on them,
Yeah.
but it's just us talking to us. And Eli Roth doesn't fucking get that. Like he's in the shower and he doesn't have that understanding of that's just a fucking fantasy.
He's like, I'm gonna make a movie where I get to you talk
mean-
shit about the mean people on Twitter.
Okay, so
I'm gonna make a movie where the mean people on Twitter go to Cannibal Island to get eaten by my racist caricatures.
they all get all the characters get arrested. Then Carlos bribes the cops, and they're flying home in a Cessna, which then blows up. There's some gratuitous violence because that makes Eli Roth hard.
Yes.
And then they all get captured by cannibals.
Oh, the fucking plane gets down.
Yeah, that's why I said the plane blew up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the most gratuitous, fucking gnarly, stupid joke of a plane crash you'll ever watch. So, context, when I was watching this in the theater, I saw this movie with about 30 other people. Good job, Eli. And about 15 minutes into it, the plane crash happens. Well, it's actually a little later.
It's more like 30 minutes.
Eli is not a very good boy when it comes to pace. I would say it's like closer to about 25 to 30 minutes. Which is I would have put it a little closer to like 20, 15, but whatever.
But he needed to have a 10-minute scene. Chekhov gunning
female genital mutilation. I know. Anyway, so fucking when I saw it in the theater, everybody walked out during the plane crash, and then it was me and 3 other people, and then after the guy gets like quartered by the cannibal tribe, which happens next. Spoilers. Everyone else left except for me, so I was then alone with the fucking terrible movie. And that's how I saw it in the theater. But anyway, let's continue.
Well, okay, and so real quick, I'm just gonna say, Eli, if you're listening, 100% serious. I'm not hating you as a bit, as I've been doing. The human imagination is worse than anything you could put on screen. Stop showing us the incredibly fucked up shit, because it's worse than if we imagine it. That's how a lot of shit works, bud.
Well, so
that's why Cannibal Holocaust works so well, because it's found footage, and they didn't get really in depth and accurate about the fucked up shit that was happening. So it was believable.
Well, and it's more about the way that the humans are reacting to it. It's all about human drama, and Eli Roth doesn't understand humans and doesn't like them and doesn't understand human drama, so he personally doesn't give a fuck for it and just objectifies everybody on screen at all times.
Yeah.
And it's so infuriating at times that you're just like, my man, why are you like this?
Yeah, well, so it's like in Hostel, there's a scene where a guy gets his leg drilled. And and I think there's like a couple shots of it, but when it gets really fucked up is when it pans away and you don't see it happening, you just see people flipping out about it.
Yeah.
That's when that scene gets fucked up. It's not watching the drill go into the leg. Well, it's imagining what's happening when you can't see what's happening.
Right. Well, and in the Green Inferno, it seems as if Eli has forgotten this very, very important fact. And so, this guy gets quartered. And so the guy that they're quartering, and understand that quartering is a guy comes with an axe and cuts off all his body parts. Yeah. Turns him into nothing.
Turns him into a torso and 5 not torso bits.
Fun. I like to watch it. Anyway, so note that the bit here is that this guy is like the beta lib cuck who Eli Roth the whole movie is dunking on for being a fat beta lib cuck. And is like, ha ha ha, what a fat beta lib cuck. He needs to be a conservative and work out and go to the gym. And then maybe he wouldn't get eaten by cannibals just because he's well intentioned and he wants the pussy, please, but he's too much of a beta cuck to get it. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so that's Eli Roth's opinion of this character.
Yeah.
So then when he gets quartered, Eli Roth pulls out his cock and just starts jerking off and is like, yeah, that's right. That's what I fucking said. He's a beta cuck. He's a fucking bitch.
How many times do you think Eli Roth masturbated to this film?
Well, he has a character in the movie literally masturbating.
Right, but he
to
himself,
the violence.
Yeah.
To demonstrate that he himself finds that to be a thing he should do.
Also, a note, Eli Roth's wife is the main character of the film.
Yeah, we haven't even we have not even talked about the plot, but we had to stop the whole musical here just to say that Eli Roth objectifies people in his movies, which is very frustrating, which we're going to talk about further, but that also has a lot to do with the history of torture porn movies.
Right.
We will talk about
So,
this.
and I don't think I've communicated this sufficiently. The cannibals in this movie are horrifically racist. Like,
Which is okay. I want to talk about this because I have a thought. I have a thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
They are racist, and I know a lot of people are going to come at us and say, well, they're an actual tribe, and Eli Roth showed them Cannibal Holocaust, and they loved it, and he was like, do this, and they were like, okay. Now, I want people to understand that just because this is an actual tribe doing actual things does not change the utility of the camera, and it doesn't change the utility of the edit, and it doesn't change the utility of the movie. The point of the movie is to demonstrate that native tribes are savage cannibals that will murder you if you're a dumb SJW and you go sticking your nose in business that doesn't belong to you, and assuming that that's like a white person thing.
Right. So, but just because you exploited minorities doesn't mean your film featuring the exploitation of minorities isn't exploitation. It's like...
And a lot of people would say, well, it was great that he did that because, look, he put them in a movie. And isn't that great? Is that a good thing? I don't fucking think so.
No. Like...
Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts about this. We watched this last night, and let me tell you what. I hated it more this time than I've ever hated it.
Yeah, because of the fucking power differential. Oh, it's so fucking frustrating.
It really is. We need to continue talking about the movie.
I was like red hot.
No, we were fuming the whole movie. I chose this. Okay, I made this decision. I was like, we're going to watch this because I want Neo to know what this is. And he was like, from fucking moment one, this is the worst movie we've watched for the show.
Yeah. Okay. So they then go. I'm just gonna skip over the mid part of the movie. They just start fucking killing people, and it's
one by one.
One by one. It's a cannibal movie.
There's a suicide. There's pot. Somebody shits. Somebody masturbates.
Yeah.
They're
there's
all
a lot of
together.
really stupid juvenile shit, fart, and weed jokes.
Yeah.
Which just undercut the fucking film.
Well, so the other thing is this movie is profoundly cheap. It's like a made-for sci-fi movie. I'm not shitting you.
Yeah.
I know that sounds insane. Like, a lot of people would say, well, no, I mean, Greg Nicotero did the effects for it, so it's like, not... No, it's cheap. It looks cheap. It
should have done a better job of those effects, bud.
Well, the color choices look cheap. As I said, the human drama is missing, so it all feels cheap. And I don't think that that's an intentional choice because the movies that he's referencing do not look cheap in the same way.
No.
So what the fuck are we doing, Eli? Anyway, it's another thing of he doesn't seem to understand the things that he's referencing.
No.
But anyway, so the point here is it's like a made-for sci-fi movie where there's a bunch of shitty CG mixed in with shitty effects by Greg Nicotero, which is weird because they're bad. And I don't know. Fuck.
Okay, so
but hold on. The thing I was gonna say about it. Oh God. No, I didn't. I don't want to lose it. Continue. Go ahead.
Okay, so the big drama after they start just killing people is they keep on doing female genital mutilation to all the women, and it looks like they're wanting to induct Eli Roth's wife into the tribe through female genital mutilation, and they're using scopamine, I think is what it's called, the devil's breath, which is an actual drug, and it's really crazy and fucked up. But they're drugging her and then brainwashing her to be part of the tribe. Yeah. So she just eventually escapes, and she is running away. At the same time, they're all the mining company is getting close to the tribe, so they're all getting their weapons to go fight the mining company. Which now I'm gonna do another brief aside.
Pull the door.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do just another aside. Eli Roth thinks that not the mining. foresting mining company are the good guys.
Deforestation. Yeah, he thinks they're the good
He
guys.
thinks
Ultimately,
that's
they are the heroes
best
of the movie.
shit ever. Because they're rooting out the fucking tribes that he hates and is very, very racist towards.
Well, and his point there is that these tribes need to go, and that these places need to be deforested, and that these SJWs don't understand the very complicated politics of that environment.
It's not that complicated. It's right-wing shitheel corporate interests are ruining people's lives and choking their planet to death.
Well, yeah, and ultimately, nobody needs to be sticking their fucking nose over there at all. They need to leave the fucking tribe alone.
Right. And and he hints at it in the movie, but the way to do that is you just go after like the foreign companies that are funding that. Like,
right. But understand that this is an unprompted thing. Like in Cannibal Holocaust, there's like they fucked with the tribe responded.
Right.
This one, they're just around and then they get fucked up.
Yeah.
And then it happens to them. They're victimized entirely, which is like weirdly Birth of a Nation-y to me.
Yeah.
Like it takes a woman, a very pretty young woman, Eli Roth's wife, and is like, wouldn't it be terrible if she had to endure this very archaic female genital mutilation thing? And it's like, yeah. But Eli.
So she ends up escaping with her sex organs intact.
Thank God.
And then
because Eli is a pussy.
Yeah. She gets to the mining company who are just finishing up massacring the Amazonian people, and then they take her home. Where she's like with a UN like tribunal, and she's like, no, we were lost in the forest, and they took care of us, and they fed us, and I was the only survivor, and they looked after me, because Eli is like, oh, she's too much of a SJW shithead to like.
Well, she knows what will happen if she says that they're cannibals.
Right. Well, and so it's just like, and so that's something. Well, no, there's a brief moment where it hints that like Eli Roth's biggest self-insert ends up like being who's a white dude who flew in, ends up being like the leader of the tribe.
Oh yeah.
Or I don't. It's just fuck. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So some things I want to like get out of the way, like
just
right out of the gate. So we're like in Africa and some of the places I grew up. I have seen more anti-FMJ like posters and like clinics and shit than you could possibly believe. Like it's like so first of all, like Eli Roth's take is that it's bad and we should just fucking invade countries to stop it. Right. And so okay, you know, and part of the problem with this movie is sometimes it's hard to decipher what Eli Roth is actually trying to tell you. Like what is slipping through is Eli Roth's takes versus what he thinks an SJW would say.
Well, and that's what makes him very, very different from Ruggero Deodato. See, because it's like, there's so many things to talk about here, but the big one is that this is a direct reference to Cannibal Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
However, Cannibal Holocaust has clarity of purpose.
Right.
And this has none.
No.
None.
No.
I have no idea what he's trying to do.
And so you're trying to develop a take, but you can't quite figure out what the movie's trying to say versus what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he keeps sticking himself in there, but then he keeps like backing up and being like, well.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things he is trying to say, and not the movie is trying to say, is that he thinks that we should start fucking up countries because female genital mutilation is horrible, and it is horrible. It is a fucking travesty on mankind, but it's the governments are trying to stop it for the most part.
Well, and it's also not my problem. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that it's like things should be done to stop it, but it should be. But things are being done to stop it, and like
Well, what I mean to say is I have a billion problems here, and there's genital mutilation that happens in our country.
Yeah.
To like intersex and trans people, and even to like cis people, and fucking
it's like
circumcision is a fucking thing.
The whole
and there's so many things.
The whole
like
concept of like the husband stitch, where it's like after women give birth, some doctors will, without their consent, add another stitch to their vagina like tighter than it should be.
Yeah.
That's genital mutilation, and so it's like Eli Roth's take of feminists should shut the fuck up because in other countries they get their clits cut off. And it's like, you shut the fuck up, Eli. Like,
that's my point.
You.
That's my point. Is like, I think Eli Roth is a very short-sighted man. He is a hate-filled, curmudgeon-y nihilist of a man. So he doesn't actually believe in anything. He doesn't care about anything, and he demonstrates that constantly throughout his movies by just inundating us with stuff. And so while in some circumstances the nihilism is important, like in Hostel, which we'll talk about, I'm assuming, in another episode at this point, like in the follow-up episode that we're going to record immediately after this, I think that he's kind of like, he objectifies people, he hates them, he also feels like them, like he feels similar to them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. But it's a nihilistic world where everyone's Eli Roth and everyone kills each other because they're all Eli Roth.
Right.
And so it's constantly like you're watching the movie going, okay, what would Eli Roth do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what he thinks he would do. Or at least this is, so like lesbians. The girl's partner gets fucked up, eaten by cannibals, so she immediately kills herself. I mean, maybe. But maybe not. Maybe she deals with it. Oh, but we needed it for plot convenience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, and also it's a glass bottle movie. So shit has to happen with some regular occurrence in the tiny little space because the movie is fucking really cheap. It's like a sci-fi original movie on budget. It's like $5 million, all produced by overseas companies, and then later sold to Blumhouse. And the reason he did that was because he wanted the movie to be racist, and he didn't want to deal with the problems of trying to sell it to people here on a production level. So he was like, I have to go there, make the movie, then come back and sell it as a finished movie, and it's got to be really good, and I got to sell it to a fucking idiot. Jason Blum is that idiot, which is wonderful for him and terrible for us. But either way, it's a cheap piece of shit, and it's a glass bottle movie in that they all just hang out in the cannibal tribe in a little like hut for pretty much the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the whole time. The airplane is like the most comically, it's like Ed Wood looking fucking terrible plane. It's just everything in it is so cheap and comically cheap. The fucking effects are really cheap, but that's perpetuated by this weird like handheld over stylized 4K like in and out like oversaturated and over sharpened. So like I can see the strings on the effects that I'm looking at the moment, but also I'm not emoting or having any sort of emotional connection to the character that Eli directly hates and is filming for cheap. And so it's the most unsatisfactory film.
Right. Well, it's because he's an apathetic piece of shit and he doesn't have a heart. Like,
well, this is my exact argument.
And I think to make art, you need to have a heart. You need to have feelings. You need to have like, you need to want to express.
I feel like every time I've ever made art, it was because there was some sort of why that I had to manifest. Mm-hmm. And so I don't understand why he doesn't have a why. And is the why just to piss me off in specific? Like, and if so, like, okay, what a weird thing to dedicate your life to, my man.
Yeah, like why are you doubling down and taking pride in being like a douchey frat bro?
Right. Well, and I think a lot of people would make the counter argument that his movies sell and that's why he does it. But it's like money. Imagine that. Imagine people paying to see him. Why do people like him? Anyway, we're gonna go to a commercial break.
Ads. It's economic horror about hunting monsters in the gig economy where eviction is scarier than Dracula. It's Buffy meets Uber. Good. Go check it out.
We talk about it every
podcast. Thanks so much for sponsoring us.
Philomena and Olivia, thank y'all.
If you're looking for some RPGs to play, or a RPG to play, just say, go play it. Check it out. Have fun with it.
And more primarily, y'all are our first sponsor, so like it's been very like essential and helpful. Like for instance, before we were using batteries and it was very costly, but now we were able to invest in this cable, and now we don't need batteries anymore.
Yay.
Like thank you, Olivia and Philomena.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more because I can't.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of y'all who listen who play RPGs, I'm just gonna make an assumption and say you're probably playing Dungeons and Dragons 5e, which is great. It's an excellent system, but like just try like iHunt or just another RPG. Like,
yeah.
Like try.
Well,
it
and
out.
the indie ones are like really great.
Yeah. It's a ton
Indie
of fun.
RPGs are great, and they
Like,
usually follow a lot more leftist politics.
I'm not trying to bash like Dungeons and Dragons 5e. I've played a shitload of it, but like expand your horizons.
Try something new.
Yeah. Yeah,
Taste a new flavor.
I see all these people trying to like shoehorn 5e into like things that it shouldn't be. It's like no, just go find go find something like #iHunt that'll do it. Instead of trying to shoehorn 5e. Anyway, that's my tabletop rant over.
Well, on another level, I want to thank our sponsor, Blood Thing. That's the show that we're sponsoring, or they're sponsoring us rather. So when I was in college, I did a lot of animation work, and one of the things that we had to do, I did like stop motion rotoscope and like 2D like flat animation, and keyframe animation is like such a fucking nightmare, but so is rotoscope animation and frame by frame. So like I have a tendency to know a keen thing or two about the fact that animation is difficult. And so Blood Thing is very impressive because it's like seemingly a mixture between like frame by frame rotoscope and then 2D, and in a way that's really interesting. So you need to check it out. If you haven't checked it out, there's a link below. You should check it out. It's really cool, really well animated, and I think I hear tell there's a possibility that we might be working together soon on something. I'm not going to say anything about that, but there's something. Oops. Anyway, he.
Also, thanks to all of our patrons.
Yeah.
It helps us buy things like cords so we don't spend $1 million fucking dollars on batteries.
Right, exactly. So patreon.com/excrement is where to go if you want to sponsor or support the show, which the show loves support. We could use it. We're trying to move the fuck out of this shitty country that we live in. And by country, I mean Texas. Which is a country. Let's be real. So, I am not a sponsor of this show, but I would like to pepper in here to all of our listeners at home that I make music. I make hyperpop and weird music. I have for like a decade. I've been playing since I was like a kid. But anyway, if you haven't heard my music, you probably have. I inundate people with it at this point. But if you haven't, you should check it out. And if you have, you should know that I literally just printed CDs. I have CDs of my music like right now. You can pre-order the newest one, and also I have 3 legacy ones, and I'm looking to print more. So looking into it, and also I'm looking into doing some like merch stuff too. So anything sold on that front is helping me there. So that's nickspheres.bandcamp.com/merch. Head over there and buy a CD, and I'll sign it. Now back to Eli Roth sucks my balls sack.
God, fuck. God damn it, I hate him.
I just burned my lip on a joint.
Why would you do that?
It's fine.
Fuck. I don't. Where were we on the hate train again?
So we had talked about the plot of the movie. I think the thing we need to talk about is that Eli Roth. I don't want to talk about just him because it's not just him, but he exhibits this specific kind of nihilism where it's like, I think Cannibal Holocaust is a very nihilistic movie about life and death and about life and death in other countries and in the wild and shit like that. But it exudes a passion and an understanding to an extent.
Yeah.
And while it is like it even it is a racist depiction of cannibal tribes, like, you know, whatever, racist depiction of native tribes. Even Cannibal Holocaust is very, very, very much that. It's still a little bit more thoughtful and less apathetic. So imagine making this movie for the aesthetic. Imagine making a cannibal movie for the aesthetic, not for any actual reason, not to say anything about journalism, but to say that you don't like SJWs. And if these SJWs were picked up, the SJWs you don't like, these mythical strawman SJWs, you know, the bad people.
Yeah.
If you got these bad beta cuck people together in a room, they're all privileged and they're all white. But they're not, though, which is weird. Anyway, you take all these privileged people, you put them on a plane, you go send them over to a cannibal tribe where they're getting eaten, and then suddenly you watch their liberal values disappear. And you're like, okay, Eli. I mean, what is the tangible, functional purpose of this?
Right. Well, and it's...
What is this machine built to do?
Well, it's a machine built for like the angsty right-wing 15-year-old Nietzsche nihilism, which is the worst kind of nihilism.
Well, it's meant to spur on xenophobia.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Well,
and it's justifying xenophobia. It's also saying that if you care about the politics of other countries, you're a fool, and you should embrace xenophobia.
But he's also saying we should invade other countries.
Well,
at the same time,
but understand that when he says we, he doesn't mean him. He means someone.
Yeah.
He means someone needs to do something about it.
And I'm gonna vote for him.
Right, exactly. So the true neoliberal here is Eli, even though Eli is the biggest centrist, and by centrist I mean he's a right-wing asshole. So what I'm saying is it comes across like, well, this is, you know, I'm a liberal and this is how I feel about liberalism, and I think that if these young liberals were really, you know, pushed into the reality of our times, then they would probably... And it's like, okay, I hear you, Eli, I hear you, but let's cut to a decade ago when you were on a commentary track and you were literally like, hey, if people don't like that I make a lot of homophobic jokes in my movie, that must be because they're fucking gay. Oh, it's almost like you change the language, but it's still the same behavior, right?
Yeah.
So he's peppered it in this whole like, oh, well, now I'm thoughtful about it. But it's the same jock, douchebaggy, like, I don't give a fuck about marginalized people. This is about what I think and how I feel about this.
Right. Well, in one of his takes in the movie is that in this isn't like, this is kind of a take through inference, but he thinks that everyone should just go and participate in Western society or civilization, whatever you want to call it. Like, people shouldn't
yeah,
just live
it's
out in
weirdly
the jungle.
pro-state.
Yeah. So, but it's like, it's there's kind of two groups of people who not uncontacted, but are kind of still like out, you know, it's like the biggest areas being like, there's people in the Amazon, there's people in some of like the desert regions in Africa, and then there's like the people in India and the North Senegalese Islands, and like generally, well, and so it's like with the North Senegalese Islands, I'm not saying that right, but I can't remember how to say it right. When people go there, they're not cruel to them. They just don't want them there, so they kill them and put them on the beach. And it's like, leave us the fuck alone.
Right.
And so it's because people are just humans, and it's like if you're this tribe and you've heard through the grapevine that whenever like white people show up and then everyone else fucking dies, and you say, this is my island, please for the love of God leave me the fuck alone. And that's
ultimately what they want.
Yeah, and then you walk onto their beach and they shoot you with an arrow.
They didn't learn the fucking lesson.
Goddamn clear what they wanted. and
Right.
and it's like let people have
But Eli
autonomy.
Roth is so dumb in that he doesn't even understand that is what the tribe like wants, and that's how they are, and that's how they operate, because he like has them literally bring the people in via boat.
Well-
It's not like they go where they aren't wanted and then all of a sudden they're trapped in a situation. It's they don't make the choice.
Well, and also
It happens to them.
And also, I don't know any of the specifics about how he like the tribe he contacted and filmed, but in the Amazon, like everything I've seen, all the actual like anthropology I've looked into it about it. Most like a lot of people are just fucking friendly because that's just human nature. Is like is in these like in like a tribal society.
Well, it's racist to assume otherwise.
You have to be nice to people, and
there's an equity of humanity in all things.
In these like hyper communal societies, it's like you live and you die as a community.
Right.
And
well,
so
and the reality of cannibalism, right, is that if somebody dies and you need to eat and there's food, and you're like, well, I mean, if you're in the fucking wilderness and you don't have a choice, you make that choice. But are these people like, do they have a taste for human flesh and then go out intentionally seeking people to bring back so that they can feed their children the bounty of human flesh? I don't think that's how that works.
No, and so it's literally like never been actually recorded. And a lot of the people who thought that there was actual cannibalism going on, well, there was this like translation error where like warriors of I think it was tribe in the Amazon, but like the people who would go out and fight we're talking about consuming their enemies, but so that got translated into like the anthropologists understood that as like, oh, they would cannibalize people they killed, when in reality it was more of like this like metaphysical, like I'm gonna take on like the soul and the spirit of the things I've killed, where it's like and that's not like, that's a pretty generalized concept for most places in the world at like some point in their history.
Well, and it's like a metaphysical understanding of humanity, and I can't blame them for a metaphysical understanding of humanity. And just because we're on the side of science doesn't necessarily mean that we have a difference in understanding of the metaphysics of that. Why do we assume we're better?
Well, in assignment, we're on the side of science because, like, they're like, hey, the more you bulldoze our jungle, the worse conditions get. Can you fucking stop?
Yeah. Well, and like
hey, we can see the biodiversity dying. Can you please fucking stop? Can you leave us the fuck alone? And I think, like whenever someone is on a piece of land, whenever a group's on a piece of land, and they just say, please leave me the fuck alone. Just leave me the fuck alone. Like, I don't.
Well, and I think that includes exploiting them for film and for racist depictions of them overseas. Like, and I understand, please understand that Eli Roth put this together overseas so that he could exploit these people, take it back over here, and justify it to us, and as if it wasn't a big deal. And in 2014, it seemingly wasn't. And like, I was in a Spencer's Gifts yesterday. I don't know why I was there, but I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was walking around, and I looked up, this big mistake, and I saw a bunch of dream catchers. They were purple dream catchers, neon colored. And it made me want to kill myself because I was like, wow. And so the reality of it, right, is that in 2014, this was made and came out, and everybody kind of went, huh, but we didn't really analyze how fucking fucked up this is.
I just like,
and I don't know, because this was so fucked, and we were like, wow, this is such exploitation shit. And I understand that Eli Roth is doing similar to the thing that he did in Hostel, where he's like trying to talk about how like the other cultures and Americans are stupid, and it's true, right? Americans are short-sighted and stupid, and they go where they are not welcome, and they do not belong. That is true. That's a fact. But why like this? Why like this? Why did he do it like this?
Because he's like literally just boils down to he's racist and disingenuous.
It's got to be that.
Like there's no other way to look at this movie other than a racist, disingenuous motherfucker wanted to make a racist, disingenuous movie.
Well, and to soften the racism, he put in a joke where the guy was like masturbating during violence after that girl killed herself, and there was the scene where they all got high, and it was like, ha ha ha, what if it was a stoner movie for a minute?
And there's a scene where someone had one of the billion diseases you can contract in the Amazon and was shitting herself when everyone was laughing at her.
Right, exactly. So, and that's and you're watching it and you're going, wow, that's really fucking vapid and stupid. Why is he doing that? And I know that he's referencing like I know the kind of exploitation he likes to reference, which is to say pieces where it's like really what the fuck and stupid, and it makes you go, oh wow, what the hell, why did the director do that? But I know why he did it. And so here's the reality. He did it because he wanted to soften the fact that this is a racist trope of a film. And so he made a movie that is a racist trope entirely. And then to soften it, he instilled these weird American dumb cinema tropes in there as well, to soften it so that our Western eyes don't get too upset about it.
Right.
And also, he perpetuated the narrative that he treated the tribe good and that the tribe really enjoyed doing it. And also, I tweeted the other night, I said, while I was watching this, I said something to the effect of, I found this movie to be profoundly racist. And somebody said, I agree, but the tribe had so much fun making it. Clearly, look how much fun they're having making it. And it's like, yes, that's true. They are having fun. But they're being exploited. And we need to acknowledge that in the same way that like we I don't even know. It's just I think it's one of those things where somebody hands you something really, really surreal and you just accept it. You know what I mean? So think about this. People talk constantly about how Blazing Saddles couldn't have been made today. And the reason that Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today is because it is a movie about critical race theory made by a Jewish man.
Actually,
and I understand that Eli Roth is also Jewish, but my point is that it is a movie about critical race theory by a Jewish man, where it is directly addressing American racism. Like directly, in an unapologetic way. And we can watch it sometime if you'd like to, so you get the context. But
I haven't seen it.
But I mean, more or less speaking directly to the audience, I think it's like people talk about how Blazing Saddles couldn't have been made today, but the reality is like Sorry to Bother You was made today, and that's kind of like Blazing Saddles. And like it's just what okay, but the reality is like, okay, Goodbye Uncle Tom is like this very, very racist movie that, quote unquote, could not be made today. But it really wasn't that long ago when that was made. And the way that was made was independently so that no one could stop them. And then when it came out, people criticized it, but no one really did anything about it. And no one really questioned it all that much. And it did kind of slip through the cracks as if it wasn't that bad. Right. And so then 2014 rolls around. Eli Roth does fundamentally the same thing and then publishes this. We all accept it because for whatever reason we just went, oh yeah, horror movie. And now we're living in a world some 8 years later going, holy shit, why do we do this? And so Eli Roth is very much one of those douchebags that would be like, Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today. All the movies I love, the crazy movies that I love, couldn't be made today, and I gotta make them. It's because of purpose. The movies that are gonna stand the test of time are the ones that are filled with purpose, not the ones that are filled with aesthetic. So when people say Blazing Saddles couldn't be made today, what they actually are meaning is a movie where a bunch of white people say the N-word for the whole movie could not be made today. and that's true.
Unless
But
you're
that's
unless you're
but and
Tarantino.
except Tarantino. But anyway, but that's a good thing. We don't necessarily need to do that.
No.
But
Well, and
so
also-
so understand that when Eli Roth says a cannibal movie couldn't be made today, he's not talking about a movie about journalistic integrity overseas. He's not talking about a movie about anthropology. He's not talking about any of that. He's saying a movie that is that at its deep core that racist, that genuinely birth of a nation-y, like where it's like overseas stuff is so scary. Like that would be the aspect that quote unquote couldn't be made today. But so in doing so, he did make it. He made the racist part without the concept, without the purpose. And he proved the world wrong. So when anybody's like, oh, well, they couldn't make Blazing Saddles today, they made the Green Inferno.
Right.
Like, they can do anything. Anybody can do anything. If exploitation has not stopped.
No.
And like, I know that they were treated well. But look at how they were used. It's utility. What are you doing with the footage?
Right. It's
What
like,
is the machine built to do?
It's like we were watching, I think it was like a Vice thing where they were talking about like Coney 20, maybe it wasn't a Vice. I can't remember where I like consumed this. But it was a ton of people in like Uganda who were talking about Coney. It was Behind the Bastards. I was listening to Behind the Bastards.
Okay.
Where they're talking about like Coney 2012 and how all these people in Uganda who are like advocates for like for Ugandan like empowerment without like white saviorism, talking about how much that movie damaged their efforts in like Uganda.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, so it's like, all right,
it's villainizing one specific thing instead of an issue.
So if it's like, I don't care how well you treat the people you are villainizing.
Right. It's not like Eli Roth wants to make a movie where he outlines the difficult relationships going on in deforestation and native tribes in the Amazon. He doesn't want to make a movie about that. He wants to make a movie about how everybody who like cares about the world is a bitch, and is a pussy, and is gonna die, and they deserve it, and fuck them.
I hate him. I hate that take so much.
Well, and apparently there's this weird, if you can't beat them, join them, like assimilationist thing of like white people going, well, if the cannibals are going to eat us, then it'd be good for me to be a cannibal now, wouldn't it? You know, I join them. And it's like, what? What?
So that's how you feel, Eli? Yeah.
Well, and it's so skeevy. It's just, and it's so weird how they put it in the mouth of like a quote unquote foreign person, because I don't, like, it's weirdly unspecific where the antagonist of the film is from, but like the antagonist is weirdly the protagonist as well, in that he's often right in Eli Roth's universe. Like, he's saying like, yeah, everybody needs to sit down and masturbate so that we can all calm down, so that we can think our way out of this situation. And Eli Roth's like, all the characters are like, ew, that's socially unacceptable and wrong. And Eli Roth's like, well, it's just human nature.
I'm just horny, bro.
It just happens.
I'm just horny. We're trying to cancel me for being horny. Everyone gets horny.
And so I know so much about Eli because I've seen all of his movies many times, and there's so much to talk about with Eli that we're now going to make this too. This is going to be another one. We're just going to keep on keeping on. But I think we have finally fucking done it, Neo. We have found a movie to put in the shitty pile.
Fuck this movie.
Fuck this one.
Fuck this one.
The Green Inferno is a piece of shit.
I just
It's bad.
I hate it.
It's a bad
so
one.
much.
I hated it a lot.
I've been just riding on this wave of anger since, when did we start? Like 10 o'clock last night?
Yeah, pretty much.
Just
I
riding.
tweeted
on this,
out of
like,
anger about it.
Oh,
I had to go
fuck.
sleep it off. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Whenever a movie has like Chekhov's female genital mutilation, I don't fucking want it.
Well, it's not like he has anything like of worth to say about it. And then when it comes down to it, like the actual like torture porn aspect of Eli Roth always falters, like because it's not necessary. He has no restraint, but he seemingly has no balls either.
No, yeah.
So he weirdly like won't go there in the way that like, you know, Tumbling Doll of Flesh or like, you know, the guinea pig movies will.
Yeah.
But he will take us to the town where those things would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then he will edge us into this whole, well, this is ultimately kind of Hollywood. And so in Hostel, which we'll talk about next, it's more of like a, it's like a, he will take us to the town, but he won't let us ride the train.
Yeah.
And then in this one, he will take us to the town, but he's too cheap to give us a ticket to the train.
It's there. He just doesn't. This one doesn't want to do it.
I fucking hate it.
Well, I just want to close on like there was one time we were out like in the middle of fucking nowhere in I think it was Kenya, and like we met some people and just, like who were living pretty basic and communally and like not as like, you know, Western capitalist ideal.
Yeah.
And
Mutual commune.
they used like kind of like the last of their clean water and like the last of their food to give us chai and to give us something to eat with chai, because because that's just what you do to guests. And it's like
They would literally give you the last thing they had.
and it's like, yeah, that's what people are. It's not like, and so it's just these movies, it's just like it makes me so fucking like mad when these people aren't portrayed like that. You know, it's like it and I know it's like people in, you know, Kenya aren't the same as people in the Amazon, but it's like it's just that's
But
ultimately
people are
like
people.
like in the end that's just kind of human nature. Like
Yeah.
it's when you're in this like communal society, it's you sacrifice for others, and so it just really fucking grinds my gears when people portray like kind of communalist people who aren't living in this like hyper capitalist ideal as in any way other than how they are. And it
When it's
just
portraying mutualism as wrong and individualism as ultimately the correct thing, which is kind of weirdly Ayn Randian. It's like the individual, it's all cowboy bullshit. It's like the individual is the whole thing. Like being an individual is more important than being happy in a family. And that sucks. Standing on one's own. And I think that's why we were joking before this. We were like, I wonder if Eli Roth's an anti-vaxxer. And the longer this goes on, the more I think, I bet he's a fucking anti-vaxxer.
yeah. Well, you're saying
Somebody
like
should ask him.
yeah.
I
6
I
feet
could be
away in a
wrong.
mask.
I could be wrong, okay, but I do know that he has a tendency to do that. That kind of being a piece of shit thing. So let's wrap up here. Thank you all for watching or listening, whatever the fuck, to Your Take is
However
Excrement.
you've consumed us.
Yeah, this is season 2, episode 1. We finally talked about a movie we didn't like, and
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope please leave your takes and your excrement in the comments below, and sponsor us over at patreon.com/excrement so that we can make more podcasts for you.
Yep. See you later.
See you later. Bye.